I started back in 2007, but in 1995, I volunteered my time at the CNIB, which is the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. So I was reading magazines onto reel to reel tape at the time.
Oh, wow.
And it was just a volunteer gig. I only did it for a year, but I enjoyed the tech as much as I enjoyed the reading of the magazine articles. And it kind of it percolated in the back of my head for a really long time. I was doing internet marketing and SEO for many years, from like 95 until basically 2007.
Mhm.
And a lot of things changed in that time, and I just got really bored.
Okay.
And I think I might have mentioned this before, but things happen when I get bored.
What happens when you get bored?
I do things.
Oh, okay.
And that was when I decided that voiceovers were going to be a thing. And I was already self-employed at that point, so for me it was basically just a focus switch. And I already
Hmm.
knew about having a website, so I
Hmm.
had a website in 5 minutes.
Right.
And, I was linking to my Muse's Muse songwriting website that had been going on since 95 and
Hmm.
had a huge following. So that linked to my website, and it kind of gave me a little, SEO juice right from the
Hmm.
beginning.
Hmm.
And then I went looking for resources, and I found Julie Williams' message board.
Yeah, I know Julie.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. So, actually, strangely enough, I met Pat Sweeney for the first time on that message board, and
Okay.
he was local to me.
Right.
So, like, it was the weirdest thing. So, yeah, there were no social media outlets at the time. It was all message boards, and I never looked in my own backyard. I always looked out into the wide blue yonder of the internet, because I'd
Right.
been doing internet and marketing and SEO for that long.
Hmm.
I knew where everything was.
Right.
So yeah, I jumped in whole hog and made the customary getting the demos done at a demo mill mistake.
Uh,
And yeah, and got my shiny new demos completely cut apart on the message board because it sounded awful.
oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, that about says it all.
Oh boy. I'm sure they were kind, but
Oh
uh,
no.
no. Oh, okay. All
No.
right. Okay,
No.
maybe
And
not.
well, even then, and I mean it's probably way worse now, but even then, people just popping into the community and saying, "Oh, hey, I'm going to be a voice actor and I
Hmm.
haven't done anything and here's my latest demo."
Yeah.
Like that. I get it now. I do. That doesn't mean that I'm mean about it to anybody or anything like that. It does mean that people need to be able to accept criticism. And
Yes.
back then, even when I was brand new, yeah, I was butthurt for a bit. Definitely, but I went
Yeah.
away. I nursed my wounds. And then I spoke with the guy who was the most vocal in his cut downs. And it turns out that it was a fellow from Chicago who was a 30-year acting veteran at the time,
Hmm.
and a wonderful fellow named Lee Kane.
Hmm.
And he basically took me under his wing for probably a good 6 months to 8 months, something like that, just sending me scripts to test out and having me do them and giving me instruction and critique, and then sending it back and having me do it again until he was happy. And then
Hmm.
he even helped me make a new demo, really, like out of the
Oh,
goodness of his heart. Like,
wow.
yeah, uh, if all of us have someone in our early careers who helps us along the path in that manner,
Yeah.
you can't do any better than that. That's just, that's gold.
I'm sure you're grateful.
I'm very grateful.
See
Yeah.
how I slipped that in there? Being great
Yes,
as
I'm
it being a
very
hard thing.
grateful.
Yes. I'm grateful for the mentors that I had as
Hmm.
well. Paul Payton, who I know that you knew, who we just
Yeah.
lost a few months
Yeah.
ago. He was one. And he
Such a
was
sweet guy.
he was the sweetest man,
Hmm.
very kind. And I met him over 20 years ago at a ITVA, which back
Mm.
then was International Television TV Association, and then it turned into MCAI, Media Communication Association International, and then it turned into Cinetech, and then I think it just recently disbanded. That's also where I met Liz DeNejnera, the
Oh,
aforementioned
okay.
Liz DeNejnera, who cut in
Okay.
front of me at the buffet. Um, it
I'm sure
was
she'll never live that one
it was
down.
so oh no, she owns it. She totally owns it. Because we had met on the voiceover bulletin board,
Oh, okay. Yes.
also,
Hmm.
and Melissa X as well, who had also met on
Yes.
the voiceover bulletin board, and they were all in New Jersey, and I lived in New Jersey at the time.
Yep. Hmm.
And so that's how we all met. But she was in a hurry because she was like had a thing that she had to do. She's like, "Oh, do you mind if I cut in? I gotta get." And she's like, "You're Tom Deere," and I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh my God, Tom Deere," because she's from the Facebooks and the the bulletin board and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then she was as sweet as could be. And so she was just
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, Paul was a mentor. Dan Duckworth was a mentor of
Yeah.
Voiceovers Unlimited. He taught me something. Because remember, I told you I had some notes about stuff I wanted to share.
Uh-huh.
One was the thing he always talked about: don't complain and don't explain.
Okay.
uh, in reference to in reference to being grateful as a voice actor. And also when you go to a recording session, don't complain about anything and don't explain anything.
That is a very, very good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just be there. Today's the best day you've ever had. Nothing
Yep.
bad happened before you walked in the door, and you're 100% focused
Yep.
and there.
Do your
And
job and do not make anyone else's job more difficult.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So our theme today is how to be grateful as a voice actor. Now, I came up with that not cleverly because American Thanksgiving was like that last week.
Yeah.
But I thought about it a lot. I know you have some thoughts on it because you're a wonderful prepared guest. So we'll just start with you. Like, so what does gratefulness in the context of the voiceover industry mean to you?
Uh, Gratitude for me is just being in this business at all. I mean, when I started, it probably took me about 2.5 years before I was actually making a decent living. And you fight hard. You fight hard for that beginning because there's no safety net, really. I mean, there wasn't for me. Maybe there is for some people, but that was it. And my husband wasn't making much money, and it was it. Like, we didn't have anything that was below that. It was either make or break. And
Mhm.
and I am grateful every day that it worked out, because it certainly was not assured that it would.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's one of the
So,
riskiest businesses you could probably get
acting of any
into.
kind. Oh yeah.
Right. Performing
Yeah.
arts in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything creative, really, because not a lot of people put much stock in creative things these days. It's really unfortunate.
Mm, I agree. I had even less of a safety net because I lived alone.
Mm.
I was living alone, being the swinging bachelor that I was,
Hmm.
when I went full time. And I decided to be a voice. I did my first voiceover in 1996, and I went full time in 2005. And yeah, I had no safety net, and I was selling my gold coin collection.
Oh,
I sold
ouch.
all of my stocks,
Yeah.
to kind of make, to get, doing it. So I was full time late 2005. So it's been 18 years. And I was doing, but the year that things turned around was 2011. The Monday I got home from
Hmm.
FAFCON 3, I got flooded with work. It's the weirdest thing.
The
I can't
universe said,
explain it.
okay.
It had to, because I like my analytics and my spreadsheets, Jodi. And
Yeah.
I did a client churn. I actually created a client churn report, and I looked and I'm like, what happened? And what happened was just being a farmer, planting seeds, being patient, not taking no for an answer
Yeah.
from the industry. Let's trade grateful. So that was yours. I guess I'll do one. I mean, I'm really grateful for our fellow voice actors.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because just
You
today,
being among them.
aw, thank you, because we have commiserated and talked and hung out and
Oh, yes, we
done
have.
talk shop talked about Adobe Audition and all that stuff over the years because we're both
Yes.
avid Adobe Audition users.
Uh-huh.
But I I am so grateful because I decided I wanted to be an actor when I was 17 years old. I went to college. I got my BFA in theater. I went to National Shakespeare Conservatory. I got a year of classical training, ballet and Chekhov and all of that stuff. And then I dropped out after a year for a lot of reasons. And I discovered voiceover that fall. And one thing I noticed when I got into the community was that the voiceover community is as nice and kind and sharing as the TV theater film community was as cutthroat and backstabby and duplicitous. That's not to
Uh-huh.
say everybody was. I met lots of wonderful people, in my very brief foray into theater and film and television. And then I
Sure.
very quickly switched gears into voiceover. But man, the kindness, yeah, sure, I'll help you with this, and it translates into me telling all of my students that I truly believe there is no competition in the voiceover industry. I truly believe there's plenty of work if you know what you're doing. And our dear friend and FAFCon producer Amy Snively said, "A rising tide lifts all boats." And I'm pretty sure she didn't originate that, but it's true. So when I help you, or when Liz helps me, or when we help, Mel in whatever thing,
Yep.
we're helping ourselves. We're helping the community. So anytime we share, anytime we commiserate, anytime we educate, anytime we counsel, we're making the voiceover industry a better place to be. And I'm so grateful. I wouldn't have a voiceover career if it wasn't for my fellow voice actors.
Oh yeah. I just told you I wouldn't have had.
Yeah, no, if it wasn't for your
Wasn't for
friends,
Lee, I would not have a career.
right? I mean, I also do cost benefit analysis of my voiceover career
Mhm.
constantly. I just came up with not came up with, but I did some research and I found a great new Excel spreadsheet formula. It's
Ooh.
very exciting. So like I have my cash flow spreadsheet,
Mhm.
which all of you can get for free if you subscribe to vostrategist.com. I have a list. You get a zip file of free downloads of templates. Pluggy, Sally, sorry. But in this spreadsheet, I have created, there's obviously the voiceover revenue stream. And then I have a column called portal.
Mhm.
And so every time I book a gig, I list the portal, and the 3 portals in voiceover, as you know, are representation. So I'll put an RE, online casting site, or OC, or, well, I've broken it down to direct marketing and indirect marketing, DM and IM. And
Okay.
I just this week, I set it up so I can have over here on the side of the spreadsheet, it adds up all the voiceover revenue throughout the year, accumulative, of each portal, and what percentage of that revenue from each portal is a percentage of the whole of my my overall income. And so for this year so far, 12% of my voiceover revenue comes from my representation. 50% comes from online casting sites. That's both
Okay.
free casting sites and pay to play casting sites. And then 50, so it's 50, 62. The remaining 38% comes from self-marketing. And a huge chunk of that is fellow voice actors recommending me,
Oh yeah.
referring. And I know you do that. You've done that for me. I've done that for you. We've done that
Mhm.
for all of our friends over the
Oh
years.
yeah.
But saying, hey, one of my explainer video clients will say, hey, do you know any ladies who would be right for this? I'll be like, well, of course, I can give you 3 or 4 of them. And then I
Yes.
recommend you, and I recommend Mel, and I recommend Trish, and I recommend Liz, and I
Yep.
recommend Lauren, and and all our other faffers and non-faffer friends.
Mhm.
And and I just look at this spreadsheet because I have the portal and then I have an origin list. So it's like, James Clamp recommended voice booking,
Mhm.
so James Clamp, our
Yep.
friend, British voice actor. So
Mhm.
I know that he recommended. Now, he didn't say to them, hey, I should work with them, they should work with me, but he said, oh, you should try voice booking, and they've been one of my top clients for 10 years
Great. Yeah.
and counting, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So definitely the people. Absolutely. Just
Oh
checking
yeah,
over here. Do you have any questions from anybody? Nope. They are
they're quiet.
completely wrapped RAPT in our riveting discussion about
Yes.
voiceover and the art and science of being grateful. Um, give me give me something else when it pertains to understanding the reality of the voiceover industry. What are you most grateful for in terms of, you know, having your eyes open about the realities and the vagaries? Is that the word? Is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah.
The dirt on the
Uh,
potato that is the voiceover industry.
you know what? For me, I'm kind of grateful that it's different every day for me.
Mm,
What I love about this is that I have steered my career in a direction that makes me happy. And what I mean by that is right now I'm doing only projects that are 5 minutes of finished audio or less. So I'm
mm,
not doing anything that's long form. And
hmm
that is entirely my choice because I like having a day that is different every day. And I like that I have no fires. For me, that means less stress.
mm, mm.
So, really, for me, there are no fires because if someone asks me to do something, at max, it's 5 minutes long.
Right.
Right?
Which you could probably do in 10 minutes,
Well, maybe not
maybe a
10
little
minutes,
more.
but,
But I mean, you
but
can
pretty
bang it out.
close.
You can record it in 7 minutes, including the burps, boo boos, and
I
mistakes,
mean,
you know,
I
and
I work with SiriusXM and Pandora, and I have been known to get them their stuff in a half an hour.
which
So,
is which is like amazing
which,
as
yeah,
a
I mean, they
turnaround
usually
time.
give you until the next day.
Right.
So, yeah, and like getting known for being the person that sends in the auditions first, or the one who sends in
hmm
the jobs before people are even thinking they're going to get it.
hmm
That to me is almost a point of pride, but at the same time, it's something that I have built my career to do. And the
hmm
idea that I have been able to do that over, well, for me, it's 16 years,
A long
but
time.
yeah, it's a long time. But, knowing that that was what I wanted to do and being grateful for every job that I get that points me in that direction and just loving all of it, really. I'm grateful for this every day. It's the coolest job ever.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
We talk for money.
Well, I mean, yeah, people would think that's easy.
And it's not. It's
It's
so
not
hard.
easy.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh my
But
God.
yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, 16, 18 years worth of training and experience and making mistakes and all of that,
Oy. Yes.
we learn as we go and coaching. I'm still taking coaching. I'm
Oh yeah.
grateful
I
for
get.
all of the ideas out there. Oh my goodness,
hmm
there is like a glut of possibilities right now. It's
mm,
insane. I just had a clubhouse where we talked with Gravy for the Brain,
mm,
and the glut of resources and information out there, not just with Gravy for the Brain, but with GVAA and with Edge Studio and with like a whole bunch of other, you are offering coaching as well. There's like a whole bunch of other coaching options that are out there that were never around when I started.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
I,
grateful for all of that.
I mean, I don't even know were there really much in the way of genre coaches when we started, because I had a voiceover coach, and it was to produce a commercial demo. I still have the cassette
Hmm.
in a drawer nearby, but like
Yeah.
there weren't explainer coaches because there were barely explainers back then. I think I did my first one in 2006 or 7, and I didn't even
Yeah.
know what it was, but you know
Yeah. Yeah.
um what's
A
what
lot has changed.
oh my well it's I mean, and it's changing even as we speak. It's kind of
Oh,
crazy
totally.
what's going on right now.
Yeah.
What genre are you the most grateful for?
I love commercials, corporate narration and commercials. I love the advertising and marketing and branding end of this. That is
hmm
my go to.
hmm
And that's why I have my podcast. That's what my podcast is about. So, yeah, I'm all about the advertising and the marketing and the branding. That is where I find my home and
hmm
love it. So, I don't do any video games or animation or audiobooks or anything like that. I don't do e learning,
hmm
all of that. I enjoy the psychology of what we're doing.
Mm,
That really feeds my soul. I like understanding that. Sound is
that's
really
a
important.
yes. Yes, it is really important. I know
Yeah.
that's a great answer. I think if the genre, I'd probably be well, I mean, you can talk in context of the grateful as in it is paying my rent and taking care
Oh,
of my
totally.
vacations, or grateful for that which feeds my soul.
It's
You
both.
know? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the vast majority of my work is e-learning explainers,
Mhm.
corporate, industrial, internal stuff. So I'm grateful for that, as then, that has been the gift of my voiceover career.
And they still
Um,
pay well, which is really nice.
they do still pay well. I mean, the
Hmm.
rates have been they haven't gone up much over the years, but they've been very, very steady. And I'm blessed to have so many regular clients that just, say, here's another explainer for you. Here's
That's
another
how you
e-learning
have a
recording session.
career.
That is how you have well, that's another thing to
Yes.
be grateful for,
A
is regular
career.
clients,
Yes.
regular clients. Because like,
Yeah.
I was recording my I have a video library at the VO Strategist. There's a how-to library. I think I'm up to 27 videos now, which you can buy or rent. And one of them I just retitled it "Get Your Acting Act Together." It's the one about the very first thing I presented at FAFCON: how to write a mission statement, how to set goals, how to write an action plan. If you remember that fascinating, that weird moment where I kind of presented myself to the voiceover world, and I kind of talked about something that no one ever talked about before. I didn't even realize until afterwards. It's like no one had done that before. I was like, oh, okay, which is why I'm the VO strategist now.
Yeah.
But I totally lost my train of thought.
That's
um
okay. Business is important. I think
Business, yeah, yeah,
one of the
yeah, no,
things
but
people forget.
yes, but I was going to say is I was re-recording it today because I try to update them all the time, and I
Mhm.
talk about the difference between an employee and a starving artist in a business, and
Yes.
how they think and how they conduct themselves. And employees and starving artists think gig to gig, they think short term. Businesses think about developing long-term relationships with clients, developing meaningful relationships. And you get what you give. If you treat every potential voiceover client like a cash register, and you're the guy with the crowbar trying to pry it open, they smell that. They all is Philip Banks. I think it was Philip Banks said that, all the clients have fresh batteries in their BS detectors. I think
Philip has
that
said
was
a
him.
lot.
He does say quite a bit. He does. He's a font of
Oh
wisdom
yes.
and quips to be
He's a
to.
funny guy. Yes.
He's also the same guy that said the difference between an amateur voice actor and a professional voice actor is that an amateur voice actor has a gigantic ego completely out of control, and a professional voice actor has a massive ego somewhat under control.
Okay. Good distinction there. Yes.
So, yes, somewhat
Somewhat of
under control.
yeah. Okay.
Well, I tell my students that we're all a bunch of narcissistic masochists as voice actors.
Well,
Like,
or like I don't know if you know is it Breyer's what is it? Breyer's what is that the personality trait thing?
oh, the Briggs Myers.
Briggs Myers
Yes,
got it like completely wrong. So I am an INFJ. And I know
INFJ.
so many other voice talent who are INFJs that is
Okay,
not, and we're supposed to be unicorns, right?
right.
Keep this in mind.
It's a herd of unicorns.
There's a herd of unicorns in voiceover. Yeah, it's incredible. So, a lot of us are introverts who like to be in the spotlight in our own special way when we
Yes,
say it's okay. Do you know what I
yes.
mean?
I kind of do. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'm an ENFJ,
Okay.
but I call myself an extrovert that needs to recharge regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that makes any sense, because
It does.
I speak at a lot of conferences now. I
Yeah.
host a lot of webinars. I'm the guest of a lot of podcasts and
Hmm.
stuff, so I'm out there a lot. So like in October, I went to La Lapide's New England Voiceover Summit, which was Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Massachusetts, and then I drove 20 minutes west to be a presenter at Johnny Heller's New England
Oh,
audiobook narrator retreat. So I was
okay.
on from
Yeah.
Friday to Thursday.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. the problem with at Nevo was that I wasn't staying at the hotel that the conference was. I was 20 minutes away, so I had nowhere to hide. So I would kept finding like little corners in like coat by coat rooms and empty ballrooms and stuff, so I could just be like,
Oh
and
yeah.
just kind
Yeah.
of recenter and then go back in and be like, hello everybody, learn from
Yeah.
me and blah blah blah, you know. So
When I go to conferences now, I have my own room. I don't even share a room anymore. I
oh,
used to
I
do
don't have
that a
roomies.
lot.
Nope.
Yeah, I can't anymore. I need to have my own space.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And continue the grateful thing. I am grateful for my own space. Grateful for the solace of the booth,
Oh yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yes, definitely.
It's contradictory. It's a safe space and it's a terrifying space at the same time. For a lot of people, it's terrifying because you're all by yourself and you have to do this all on your own and there's no one here to direct you and you have to figure your stuff out and your DAW and your marketing and all that stuff. And yes, that can be very intimidating and stuff, but like going in the booth, it's like it's supposed to be fun, people. It's supposed to be fun. You're talking
Yeah.
for money. You're a professional storyteller. You know,
Yes.
it's supposed to be fun. And I've also learned about that in the context of taking the pressure off of auditions. I used to hate auditions. I'm grateful for auditions now.
Oh
I've also
yeah.
developed a good system. Like if I'm cranking, I can do 8 auditions in 30 minutes now.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And the funny part about that is that last year I did a Voice 123 audition. I did it in one take. I sent it off. They used it. It was for the Humane Society of America, and then it got nominated for a One Voice Award.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, and then
Congratulations.
thank you very much. And then just a couple weeks ago, I did an audition on Voice 123, did one take, sent it off. They emailed me back. They're like, we need to get this online really, really quick. Can we just use your audition and pay you? And I'm like, yeah. So
That's something to be grateful for.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that too. So if you want to look for Dano's Primo Seasoning. I'm the creepy whisperer that sounds like Ryan Reynolds.
That's
Um,
awesome.
with
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for not spending too much time on an audition
mhm.
because I think it needs, I think people can smell desperation, first of all.
Oh yeah.
And second of all, I think that your first instinct is usually pretty decent.
Hmm.
And it's after you start considering things and redoing them that the sparkle gets
Yeah.
lost.
You lose the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and people just care too much. I think after 3 takes, you're just, there's
Mhm.
too much at stake. You just
Yeah,
you have to not care too much.
right. You also have to trust yourself in that if they they cast you for you. You know, they booked Jodi, not Jodi's performance necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
more and more. I mean, back in the day, you had to do this and be a real announcer and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So whoever was the best announcer,
Yeah.
the whitest, deepest sounding dude got the job,
Yeah.
but now they want people. I mean, you see all the casting notices, you see all the direction, real,
Yeah.
organic, conversational, talking to a friend, all that stuff. So the more that you can just be you in your auditions, I mean, obviously there's technique involved, it's like I say, you learn with a piano, you learn the notes, you learn the chords, and then you play the music.
Yeah.
Get your training, develop your techniques and all that stuff. And when you get behind the phone, when you get behind the mic, you just go, just be you, trust your training, trust your personality, trust your
Hmm.
energy, trust your instincts,
Yeah.
you know,
It's easier to be you than to be someone else, really. I
it
mean,
is.
I,
But
I mean,
for most
assuming
people,
you're
it's
not
hard
doing, yeah,
because then you're not
assuming,
hiding behind something.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
vulnerable.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, there are different requirements for being in animation or video games or doing characters in audiobooks or,
Oh, that's different.
that's
You're
completely
playing a
different.
character. But when you do a
Yeah.
commercial, Jodi, when you book a commercial,
Hmm.
Jodi's narrating the commercial,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I mean, with different perspectives
Of
and maybe
course.
with, different types of inflections depending on what the client asks for. Often
Right.
what'll happen is I will book the job because I'm me, but like because they liked what I did and I was
Mm-hmm.
just me. But
Mm-hmm.
then when I get into the actual session, there's so much direction that it ends up being completely different than what I auditioned with, which
I've
is
had that
fine.
so many times.
Yeah,
And that's okay too, because because now they're molding and shaping
what they want.
whilst making sure it's compliant with the legal department,
Yeah,
whilst it's catering to this particular demographic that they're trying to sell to,
yeah.
while it's honoring this and while it's honoring that. And then there's the guy who has to direct you because that's the only way he can get out of his cubicle and get the free catering at the recording session. So
Yeah,
he needs to
yeah.
give you some kind of inane direction, like, yeah, Jodi, wouldn't you do this one? Could you make you sound like your credit rating's about 5 points higher when you do this one? Or just something just absurd. And you're like, sure, no problem. And then you do it. Right?
Yeah, I always say that the important part, honest, I mean, okay, it's all important and definitely I want to give the client what they want when I'm in the
Yes.
session, totally.
Yes.
But you don't get in the session until you have the training to get to the session.
Mm-hmm.
So doing the audition authentically like you in the style that is current now
Yes.
and knowing what that style is and having coaching that gives you that information
Mm-hmm.
is really the important part that gets you into the actual session. So when you're booked, that's the easy part.
It
Like
kind of
you've
is.
done the hard work already, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
getting into the job.
you do the work, you put in the work to get the
Yeah.
job.
So I'm grateful when I get hired because that's the fun part, right?
Yes. Yeah. I make a little yay every time I book something, no matter
Yeah.
whether it's like a $10 phone prompt follow
Hmm.
up or if it's a $5,000 whatever
Yeah.
national thing. I am truly genuinely grateful for every gig that I get. If I look at the script and go, oh, geez, there's 14 spelling errors and it's 60 seconds a copy that they want to get done in 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in
Yes.
the back of the head, it's like, be grateful. You got
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
You're talking for
This is
money.
why. This is why you have had 18 years of training.
Right. Yes. Remember your training.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes it's easy to not see the forest, to not look to, not see the forest for the trees and to be like in the thing and, and complain a little bit or complain to your husband or my wife about, I have to pronounce this ankylosing spondylitis thing. And, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of the time, my wife's like, "Shut up! You talk for money. Just
Yeah.
be grateful." And so, yes, once in a while I forget. Once in a while I forget. But
Yeah, but that's why we have partners who remind
yes.
us.
But you know what
That I'm
helps me?
grateful for too.
Me too. I'm so grateful to have a partner that is supportive, and
Hmm.
she's a freelancer too in the
Hmm. So
floral
she
design
knows.
in the floral design industry. So she freelances just in almost in the exact same way that I do, except that I just do it in a booth, and then she does it at a studio, and then she
Sure.
does it on site at the wedding or the
Hmm.
fashion show or the billionaire executive thing, and she's doing things. She did something on the Intrepid a couple years ago, and like,
Oh, cool.
she's done some amazing,
I
amazing
got to
stuff.
watch the fireworks from the Intrepid many years back.
Oh, that must have
Well,
been awesome.
2017, I think it was
Oh,
actually.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was nice.
Very,
It
very,
was fun.
very, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
but to be grateful for the type of work that we do when there's so many people out there that are desperately wishing they could do
Oh,
what we
yeah.
do, and when
Yeah.
there's so many other people that are doing something that they hate and they can't not do it because that's the only thing they can do to support themselves and support the family. So just the gratefulness that we're able to do it at all, much less able to do it to sustain ourselves, much less to be able to do it and we have a comfortable living and we get to
Yeah.
travel, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. You know what also I'm grateful for is I'm grateful for my students.
Ah, yes.
Going back to what you said before, because my students keep me humble, my
Yeah.
students keep me on point, my students keep me focused, um, because I have to, I mean, I'm teaching generally the same lessons over and over again how to think like a voice actor, how to execute like a voice actor, time management, project management, workflow, money management, filing the taxes. And there's a healthy amount of therapy that goes in our mentorship sessions too. But I don't remember where I learned it. Maybe it was Stephen Covey. Learn with the intent to teach. Anytime you learn a new subject,
Yeah.
take in the information as if you have to get ready to share it with somebody and make sure that they understand it.
Good advice.
Yeah. So teaching these lessons over and over again, and reshooting my videos and speaking at all these conferences and stuff, continually reinforces be grateful for what you're doing. Be grateful for the journey that you've been on and where you are on the journey, because I have the privilege of working with people that are in many, many different parts of their journey. Some of them haven't produced a demo yet. Some of them have been in the business for 20 years. Because with the navigating the voiceover industry, it's not just being new to the industry. And you and I talked about this a little bit before we went live, is how much the voiceover industry has changed drastically.
Oh yeah, hugely.
Since we started pursuing voiceover, with the advent of pay to plays and new genres, and now AI is here and doing all sorts of interesting things to the voiceover industry, and what we as voice actors need to do or not do, or how to think or how not to think, how to protect ourselves legally, how to protect ourselves technologically, how to understand. Well, nobody understands what AI is going to do to the industry. I mean,
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. It's doing things.
Yes.
It's been doing things for about 5 years or so. But understanding what the long-term effects will be genre to genre, and that's what I'm starting to get a better idea of, is which genres of voiceover are going to be largely immune, and which genres or subgenres of voiceover within 5 years may completely vanish. And I'm starting to get the inkling of where some of them are going to be and not. And this is what makes me grateful for my clients, for some of my clients that I'm here in New York City, going to a recording studio, doing these e-learning modules, and the amount of micro direction I'm given, sometimes word for word, word per word, inflect up here, because it's a lot of English language learner stuff, ELL or ESL stuff.
Yes.
And it's like, inflect here, that's a little too glottal, that's not glottal enough. You need to inflect down a little bit more here. You need to parse that a little bit more. Don't elide that. You can elide that. The way that AI technology is with the text-to-speech stuff is that it's not capable of that nuanced level of stuff. The speech-to-speech stuff, that's a whole different
that's like
animal.
putting a skin on a voice. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a whole other thing, is skinning your voice for stuff like that. So with that in mind, how grateful are you for the technology that has given you the career that you have? Well, like, are you in Toronto proper?
No, I'm actually just outside. I'm just north of Toronto in a place called Newmarket.
You're in a suburb of Toronto.
It's actually a little further out than that.
Oh, so it's closer to
just
rural?
a tiny bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's rural right now. I mean, we're still talking about like 88,000 people. So
it's bigger than Parsippany, New Jersey, which is a suburb of New York City, which has 50,000. So you're in a decent sized community.
It is pretty decent sized. I'm about 45 minutes from the downtown core. So if I wanted to go to Toronto, I could do it in, I don't know, 40, 45. Depends on where.
I would declare that suburban. Absolutely.
Technically, it's not really the GTA, what we call the GTA. It's it's outside of the Toronto sprawl.
Okay.
But it's definitely near enough. My parents live in downtown Toronto, so I'm not going too far for a while.
Oh, right. Gotta keep close to help out with it, with this and that.
Things. Yes.
Talk about how grateful you are with technology, because if it wasn't for technology, most of us wouldn't have a voiceover career at all.
Oh, totally. I've been grateful for the internet since 88. Yeah. First got a modem in '88. Went on bulletin boards at that time, and
Wow.
yeah, I'm old school. I remember dial up.
Oh boy.
Yeah. In fact, I was getting decent marks in my English lit class because my now husband was a graduate student at York University, and he had an account that allowed him to get laser printing in the big VSAT machine in the huge computer, building that
Wow.
they had at the time. And this was 1990 or 89, I think, maybe.
Hmm.
So most everyone else had like a dot matrix printer. And I was able to print my English lit essays in laser printing.
Ooh.
So that was super high end. So, I mean, just the look of it, I think, impressed the professors. But what it taught me actually was the markup language for the word processor that you had to use to get that laser printer to work
Hmm.
through the dial-up was basically early HTML.
Oh, interesting.
So I learned HTML really early on. And when I got into doing stuff online, I was basically making websites back in like 95,
Ooh.
around there. And doing some really rudimentary graphic design. But I mean, that was really how that and internet marketing and SEO, which all rely on technology, which was how I went out and started working on my own. That's how I became self-employed. I basically was self-employed from about 1999 onward.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. Well,
all
anyone?
technology.
So yeah. So yes, I can see how you're grateful for technology.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in. I do want to take a couple of minutes and ask you about your podcast.
Oh, sure. Happy
And
to
I know
talk
you're
about
great.
that.
I know you're grateful for your podcast. So
Oh, definitely.
talk about the power of sound.
Well, audio branding is the name of the podcast. It's called Audio Branding, the Hidden Gem of Marketing. And the reason that I started it, and I started it back in November of 2019. And the reason that I started it was because I was seeing a lot of voiceover podcasts crop up, and that was great. But I wanted to talk to our clients. I didn't necessarily want to talk to us.
Hmm.
I love talking to my fellow colleagues. Don't get me wrong. I
Sure.
think that's fantastic and love doing it and would do it all day if I could. However,
Mhm.
I think it's very important for us to get to show our clients why what we do is important and why what they do is important. Because a lot of our clients are also selling the idea that sound is important to their end clients. And in a lot of cases, it's hard for them to prove that that's the case.
Mhm.
So I wanted to scientifically, talk with audio branding companies, talk with people who make their living in sound, and have them explain to anyone listening why what they do is super important,
Mhm.
and and allow people to understand how important sound is in our lives, because it is hugely important. And in fact, it actually colors everything that we do, including sight. So when you have a discussion with someone or a company and all they talk about is their branding in visual terms, they're missing out on so much that could really make a deep emotional impact on the people that are experiencing their brand. It's hugely important, and I think that a lot more people need to know about it.
Wow. If if there are people out there who are anti AI in terms of the voiceover industry, I think you just made a really good case.
Well, I mean, the human voice is really important. And in a lot of cases, that's how we relate to one another.
Right.
So AI can take the difficulties, like maybe multiple phone numbers that change on a regular basis, or, if you can get it to say the name right, some new person in the IVR of a company or something like that, that that changes on a regular basis, or
Hmm.
things that are just super difficult for a human being to be able to do on a regular basis. And I
Right.
think that is a perfectly valid reason for AI to be used.
Hmm.
But if you're wanting to make a brand for your company, if you want people to experience who you are as a brand, I don't think you want to use AI.
Mm.
That just doesn't give people the right impression. It's
I
just not
agree.
going to help you.
I agree. AI has, and in full disclosure, I've cloned my voice, and
Sure.
it's making money.
Hmm.
But like, to use AI to be the voice of a product manual that would never get voiced.
Yeah,
Or as our friend Karin Gilfrey says, no narrator can narrate the New York Times overnight, but a visually impaired person deserves to enjoy the New York Times as much as any sighted person. So if you have
totally.
an AI do that overnight, so in the morning that sighted person, non-sighted person, or visually impaired person can enjoy the New York Times with their morning coffee like everybody else. Yeah, I'm 100% down with that.
Totally. Yeah.
But when it comes to seeking in true connection,
Yeah.
true engagement on an advertising level, like you're talking about, or with an audiobook where you're true storytelling, especially
Yeah.
fiction audiobook where you're playing characters and there's nuance and an arc and a message and themes and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would want to listen to something like that that's voiced by an AI. So I think I think it definitely has its place. AI is a
Yeah.
result of technology. Technology is designed to make our lives easier. And
Yeah.
the product manual thing, reading the New York Times, yeah, sure, I'm all for that. Even doing retakes, if I narrate an audiobook, and
Sure.
I always say just only instead of only just. I always invert those. No matter what I'm always inverting those. If my clone voice during retakes can invert those two and you don't hear a difference, yeah, I'm all for that, because I got to get in
Sure.
the booth, I got to record it, and either I pass it along to an engineer who has to get paid to stitch it in there and make sure,
Yeah.
or you can just go click and it fixes it. Yeah, I'm all for that too. But it's a very compelling case for continuing to use human narrators.
Well,
And
it's also a personal brand. Pardon me.
yeah,
Because when you're talking even about nonfiction books, a lot of the people who do write those want to speak them themselves because
yes,
that's their brand.
right,
You don't want an AI to do that for you that doesn't sound like you.
right,
Like that just doesn't make any sense.
right. Well, you mentioned skinning earlier. So
Yeah.
if you narrate this author's audiobook, and with all the vigor and energy and passion that the author would want you to have when speaking about the subject of which they wrote painstakingly, probably it took years for them to write,
Yeah.
and then they skin your narration with the author's synthesized voice,
Maybe.
maybe, you know, that's something. I mean, a lot of authors do want to narrate their own stuff because nobody understands their work like they do.
Exactly.
No one is as passionate about their work as they are, but some authors have lousy voices and are lousy
Yeah.
they may be
Yeah.
wonderful literary storytellers, but they're lousy oral storytellers.
Sure.
So, um but I'm grateful for technology too. Wow, we're grateful for our clients. I'm grateful for my students. We're grateful for the genres that we do. We're grateful for the technology that we get to use. We're grateful for our partners who support and uplift us and respect us and commiserate with us and kick us in the ass when we need to. We're grateful for
And
our
pop
fellow
our
voice
big
actors
heads when they need to
and
be.
pop those big Philip Banks massive egos that are somewhat under control sometimes. Um, wow. No, wow. We do have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
I wasn't sure going into this one, be like, are we going to have a lot to talk about? But like, we're almost at our hour, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
we really do have a lot to be grateful for.
Well,
Uh,
Tom, we have never had a problem talking.
no, no, you and I have never had that problem. Whether we're hanging out at a barbecue or a
Yeah,
networking event or a mixer or we're always
never a problem. Yeah.
yeah, that's never been a problem for us. So Jodi, thank you very much for hanging out and
Thank you
talking
so
about
much
the
for having me.
thank you for
It's been
talking
a
about
lot of
the art
fun.
and science. I know it's always fun talking to you. Tell us where they can find you as a voice actor, and tell
Mhm.
us where they can find your clubhouse, and tell us where they can find your podcast.
Well, you can find me online at voiceoversandvocals.com. So that is my website. On the website, there is a whole bunch of information on the podcast. There is a tab button that goes right to the podcast. And if you're looking for it on wherever you listen to podcasts, it's called Audio Branding, the Hidden Gem of Marketing. And the Clubhouse, you can find on Clubhouse. I have a house called The Power of Sound. And we have a bunch of different discussions on usually Wednesdays afternoon. We're kind of working on 2 p.m. right now, but we're thinking of switching to noon Eastern. So I'm kind of experimenting with a bunch of different places. Some of the ones that I'm doing recently are on LinkedIn audio events. So I've been experimenting with that a little bit. I'm not going to stay there. I do prefer Clubhouse for the functionality. I really like having a room chat because
Yeah.
LinkedIn audio events don't have that.
It's one way, right?
So yeah, it's one way.
Okay. I'm sorry, I
What
called your podcast The Power of Sound. I inverted
yeah,
those.
no,
My
it's fine.
apologies.
Yeah, it's easy to switch. Yeah. So on December 6th, and I don't know when people are listening to this, but on December 6th, I actually have at 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, December 6th, on LinkedIn audio events. I have an audio branding specific chat with some very heavy hitters in the audio branding space, talking about what to do for your audio brand over the holidays, if anything.
Oh, that's a
So
great topic.
well, I think actually for most people who have an audio brand, they've already done everything they're going to do. Like us, we've
Right.
already done all the advertising for Christmas like months ago, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, that's all set.
Yeah,
That's
it's all
set.
done, right?
September,
But
sometimes early September, the
yeah,
holiday stuff starts getting in, right?
exactly. So, I mean, but I think for a starting point for people who aren't already in it could be a really good starting point, something to think about. And yeah, I'm planning on releasing that in the podcast eventually. So we'll see what happens.
Very cool. Be sure to
Yeah.
tune into that, everybody. All right.
Mhm.
Well, we're going to wrap it up there. We're almost at our hour. But Jodi, thank you so much for hanging out. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you. I'm sorry I won't see you at the Holiday Mixer this weekend. I know you've
No.
gotten into New York City here and there, but hopefully I'll see you sometime soon. Maybe via Atlanta, maybe Mid-Atlantic
Probably
voiceover.
not.
No, okay. Well, hopefully
But
I'll run into
yeah,
you in person soon.
that is really large for my introverted soul.
Yeah, Viola has like 1,000 people, so it's a little
Yeah.
intimidating for some people. So I can totally understand that. Okay, well,
Yeah.
hopefully I will see you in person very, very soon. Thank you
I'm
so
pretty sure
much.
I'm going to be at WovoCon. So WovoCon in October in Chicago.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check my calendar. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about that one, but I'll
They're
keep you
doing
informed.
a FAFCon-like thing
Yes,
that
an
Amy has
unconference.
actually given them
I heard
the go
the
for. Yeah.
unconference format. So no, that's
Yes.
very exciting. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Jodi, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody for hanging out and listening to us narcissistic masochists. Well, we were trying to be very unnarcissistic. We took it outside of ourselves. And we talked about how grateful we are for the voiceover industry and all the wonderful people that are in it. But thanks again, everybody, for hanging out and checking out this Ask Me Anything YouTube channel. Please like this YouTube video and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram. I have a new broadcast channel, so be sure to get connected with that. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If you'd like to get a little help exploring the voiceover industry, book a free 15-minute consult with me at vostrategist.com. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. Stay cool, stay safe, and happy voicing.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.